"Excuse me," the waiter said nervously. "I think you've sat at the wrong table." The woman didn't look up from her phone. Her diamond bracelet caught the light as she said, "Then tell him to move." Across from her sat a man in a faded jacket, his little girl coloring quietly beside him. The man looked up, calm, kind, and said, "Don't worry. We'll move," but before he could stand, the woman's phone rang, and the voice on the other end would turn that moment into something neither of them would ever forget. It was a rainy Thursday evening in downtown Chicago. The city lights shimmered against puddles as people hurried home. Inside the Pearl Bistro, one of the city's most expensive restaurants, sat Vanessa Lang, CEO of Lang Tech, elegant, brilliant, and untouchable. Every detail about her life screamed control. Her posture, her speech, even the way she tapped her pen twice before making a decision. To everyone who knew her, Vanessa was a success story. To those who worked under her, she was a storm in heels. That night, she was waiting for a major investor, someone who could fund her new project and cement her legacy. She entered the restaurant early, distracted, scrolling through emails. The hostess pointed toward her reserved table by the window, but Vanessa, without looking, walked to the wrong one, a corner booth near the back. Across from that booth sat Darius King, a single father who just finished his second job driving deliveries. His 7-year-old daughter, Amara, was coloring a menu with crayons the waiter had given her. The waiter started to correct Vanessa, but she waved him off. "I'll sit here," she said. "It's quieter." When Vanessa sat down, Darius froze. He looked at her, polished, confident, clearly out of place at a booth that smelled like kids' fries and chocolate milk. "Ma'am," he said softly, "I think there's been a mistake." Vanessa didn't look up. "If you don't mind, I'm waiting for someone. You can move to another table." His daughter looked up, confused. "Daddy, did we do something wrong?" He smiled gently. "No, baby. We'll just—" But before he could stand, Vanessa's phone rang. Her tone shifted instantly. "Yes, Mr. Wallace. I'm here at the Pearl now, waiting at table 16. The hostess hurried over, whispering, "Ms. Lang, that's actually table 6. Your table's up front." For the first time, Vanessa looked around, at the child's crayons, the worn jacket, the man's kind eyes, and for a moment she saw what she had done. Her face flushed. "Oh, I see." She turned to Darius. "I'm sorry. I didn't." But before she could finish, a new voice joined in. "Ms. Lang?" It was Mr. Wallace, the investor, and he'd seen everything. For a moment, the air turned heavy. Vanessa's mind raced. She was standing in front of the man who held her company's future, and she'd just humiliated a father and child in front of him. She tried to recover. "Mr. Wallace, I was just—" But Wallace smiled. "Actually, this is perfect." He turned to Darius. "May we join you?" Vanessa blinked, speechless. "Join him?" "Yes," Wallace said calmly. "I know this man." She stared in disbelief as Darius extended his hand. "Evening, sir. Didn't expect to see you here." Wallace chuckled. "Neither did I." He looked at Vanessa. "Miss Lang, meet Darius King. He's one of the consultants we hired for the new community tech initiative." Vanessa's throat tightened. They all sat down. The CEO, the investor, the single dad, and his little girl who kept drawing quietly beside her father. Vanessa couldn't focus. Everything felt backward. The man she'd looked down on was someone she was supposed to partner with. Wallace smiled. "You know, Darius here has been developing an affordable Wi-Fi network for low-income neighborhoods. It's changing lives." Vanessa forced a smile. "That's impressive." Darius nodded humbly, trying to make sure kids like mine can have the same access yours will. The words stung. She glanced at the little girl. Her curls tied in ribbons. Eyes bright with curiosity, Amara looked up and said softly, "My daddy says everyone deserves a seat at the table." Vanessa froze. She looked at the child, then at Wallace, and suddenly she realized why fate had made her sit there in the first place. As dinner went on, Wallace excused himself to take a call, leaving Vanessa and Darius alone. The silence between them was heavy, but not hostile. Finally, Vanessa spoke. "I owe you an apology. What I said earlier was uncalled for." Darius looked at her calmly. "You don't have to apologize, ma'am. You just forgot for a moment that the world isn't divided by tables." She frowned slightly. "That's a powerful way to put it." He smiled faintly. "When you've had to earn every seat you've ever sat in, you learn to appreciate the chair more than the view." Something inside her cracked. The wall she'd spent years building. When Wallace returned, he smiled. "Well, this dinner went better than I hoped. Ms. Lang, I think you and Mr. King will make an excellent team." Vanessa blinked. "Team, your tech initiative," he said. "I want Lang Tech to partner with Darius's program. I'll fund it, if you lead it together." Darius raised an eyebrow. Vanessa looked stunned. Wallace grinned. Sometimes the right ideas come from the wrong tables. Weeks later, Vanessa and Darius launched the Connect Kind project, affordable tech hubs in underserved communities. During the press conference, reporters asked Vanessa what inspired it. She smiled and said, "A mistake. I sat at the wrong table, but it turned out to be the right one." When the cameras cut off, she looked down at Amara, who handed her a crayon drawing, a picture of 3 people at a dinner table, smiling. Underneath, in a child's handwriting, were the words, "Everyone deserves a seat." Vanessa knelt beside her and whispered, "Thank you for reminding me what leadership really means." Months later, Vanessa hosted a dinner for her new team. This time, she chose a long table, not for investors, not for billionaires, but for students, single parents, teachers, and engineers. Darius sat across from her, watching her smile as Amara climbed into her lap. The once untouchable CEO now looked like something she hadn't been in years. Human, and as laughter filled the room, she whispered to herself, "Sometimes life teaches us the biggest lessons when we sit with the people we least expect." That night, a CEO learned something no business school ever taught her, that the true measure of success isn't who you sit with, but who you make room for, and that a mistake, handled with grace, can change everything. Tell us in the comments, what did you learn from this story? Would you have stayed or walked away? Subscribe for more cinematic moral stories that remind us. Respect costs nothing, but it changes everything.